Hey Dallin, what's up? Sorry so late. I'm gonna get on this eval for you. Here's the patient sample right here. It's in my bank, so it flows pretty well. As you can see, it has these little tabs right here, and it goes down. Starts with appointment day and time, diagnosis that would be put in when the patient first came in. I think most times I use Q. I don't know if it was Q80 or Oh, most times I use F84, and that would get plugged in right there. Patient history, I would fill that out as I spoke to parent, either before or at the eval, and I can choose what I want to talk about right here. So I can choose current level, medical history, prior level, treatment history, whatever. And then as soon as I choose those 4 things or 5 things, I can write about it right there. Outcome measures. This is for, I think it's for PT because I don't know what any of these tests are, either PT or OT. So outcome measures, I think that has to be specific for either OT or PT and not for speech evals. The biggest part of this is going to be the standardized tests. This is what we were talking about. And basically I would just add the test right here. So let's say I'm going to do an expressive one-word vocab test. I'm going to do a receptive one-word vocab test, or I'm going to do the functional communication profile, and let's go with the preschool language scale. So let's say I'm going to do all 4 of those tests. As soon as I add those, it gives me all the ability to plug in everything I need to, which includes raw scores, standard scores, age equivalent, percentile ranks. I don't need that. I never really put anything in that. So all of the tests that that have standardized scores, I can do that and plug in everything, as well as put in any notes that I would like to with the functional test. Since this isn't a standardized test that gives scores, it gives me the ability to kind of talk about it. Like, let's say I want to talk about his attentiveness. I can put he was able to attend for at least 1 minute with good eye contact. So basically, since this test doesn't have scores, I can put a comment on how the person does with each skill. This does very very well with pretty much everything. Findings. This is where I can choose. So if these tests, if I feel like they don't cover everything, I can go into findings and I can comment on the person's articulation skill or whatever, fluency, and then it would go ahead and give me the option to comment on on each skill. So excuse me. So I find that I don't really use this too much because I'm going to comment on everything anyway under this next part right here. So under the impressions, this is where I put kind of the summary of kind of everything. I can put strengths, the performance impairments, functional limitations, and then this is in the summary. This is where I write, usually like a paragraph or 2. Parent or patient education. I don't really put anything in here. I'm not sure why that's in here. I would rather it say guardian or parent. That way I can kind of talk about meeting with a parent or guardian in regards to the eval. I think that would probably be better right here. Goals. The way to do this one is that I just tab on this bottom part and then I add goals. And I can, base my goals on communication, articulation, fluency, hearing, pragmatics. And then as soon as I add it, I can save it, and then it'll automatically pop up right here. Billing codes. A billing code for a speech eval is usually, I think I use this one, 92522. I think that's the only one I use. Or that, yeah, so I use this one, 92523. That's the billing code for most, if not all, of my evals. Let me see anything else. Intervention comments. I usually just cover anything down here up in my summary. So goals, plan, interventions. Oh, okay, right here. This is where I put my recommendations of how much therapy per week the client should get. Most times it's 1 time per week, and I recommend that for 52 weeks, which states right here. Intervention comments, don't really use that. Patient acceptance, don't really use that, but I also do put yes. I'm not sure why this is in there. Again, I think that should say parent or guardian acceptance, but it says patient. I'm not sure why that's there. Contributors, I think this is only for a speech therapist who has or is in grad school and they need speech therapists with their master's like me to kind of okay it right here. So I don't ever use this. But overall, I think this flows pretty well. I'm trying to think of any parts that I don't really need. I think findings is a bit redundant because I'm going to talk about it anyway. Clinical impressions, that's where I put everything. I think the only things I don't use are going to be this, contributors, and findings. Other than that, I think it flows very well, especially with the standardized tests. It gives me all of the ability to either plug in raw scores and the other scores, and then with tests that don't give scores, like the functional test, it gives me the ability to write as much as I want and comment as much as I want per each skill for the client. So anyway, if you guys have any questions, let me know.